And counting down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. That is it. Stanley Norman is the 2021 British champion. Luke Dillon is second. And for many the story of the event, it's the whelk fisherman from southwest Wales, father of 4, Harry Cromwell, who'll be taking the third spot on the plane to El Salvador to compete in the ISA World Games. Looks like he's going to need to find someone else to man that boat for a little while. What an opportunity this could turn out to be for the Welshman. I wonder what the Welsh is for El Salvador, here I come. Or maybe he needs to start learning Spanish. Either way, Harry Cromwell is going to the 2021 ISA World Games to compete for one of the 5 remaining places in the Olympics.
Competitive surfing is back, and Crest, in partnership with Elusive, is all over it. Bright prospects for Wales. Harry Cromwell has opened his 2021 by qualifying for the World Games in El Salvador, which is scheduled to kick off this coming Saturday. In this episode, we talk all things Worlds, Olympics and Wales with the man himself, and an expert panel freshly back from that epic drive to Thurso. So joining us for this special edition, it's the whelk fisherman turned international competitor himself, Harry Cromwell. How's it going, H?
Very good, thank you, Tom. How's yourself?
Hey, very well. Congratulations, Harry. What an amazing achievement.
Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. Feels good.
And 2 of Harry's teammates on that initial trip to Thurso, both of them with a string of Welsh titles. It's Llantwit's Mark Vaughan. How's it going, Vaughany?
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, all. Yes, very well. Thank you very much.
And although a Channel Coast charger, which does offend many people in the Welsh coast that she jumped ship, a peripatetic surfer who'd call Newport home but currently works at the Wave in Bristol, it's Emily Williams. How are you doing, Ems?
Evening all. Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Now, a quick shameless plug for all 3 of these surfers. They've all been featured on Crest episodes before. Emily as episode 4, Harry as episode 5, and Vaughany a little bit further down the batting order at episode 11. But they can all be looked up, and you can listen back to pretty much their sort of life stories to date with each of them. We're going to start off, though, by asking you, Harry, how are you feeling then? I heard today from Linda and Herbie that your flights to El Salvador are booked. It's on. And you are going to be Wales's representative at the 2021 ISA World Games. How are you feeling about it?
Honestly, it doesn't feel real. It's amazing. I still can't believe that I'm going instead of people who maybe should be going. but nah, yes, it's like a real good achievement for me. I'm really happy with the result, and I'm going to give it more than 1,000% to smash it and make Wales proud.
And has it been a bit of a difficult decision? Because obviously you're self-employed. You got the boat is going to be sitting in the harbour while you're away.
Yeah, well, the boat's not going to be sitting in the harbour, luckily, because we can get cover and sort that out our end. Okay. But the main problem was leaving my 4 children and my lovely wife at home for 2 weeks, which first of all I thought was going to be possibly a month with quarantine rules, and I don't know, I heard a few stories about maybe going over early to do training and stuff, which kind of put me out the question, really, because having a month away from everyone, as well as, like you say, work, could be, it's a bit much to ask for. So yeah, I kind of thought at first I wasn't going to be going, but then when I heard it was 2 weeks, I thought, yeah, it's doable. I can make that happen, and it's a sort of an opportunity I couldn't turn down.
Okay, and I love, one of the things I love about surfing is how sort of varied the journey is, so that route at the moment, to the Worlds and gosh, who knows, even beyond, it's begun at the Welsh in Fresh West, and then you've gone up to Thurso, surfing those sort of peat coloured right-handers, and then it's going to eventually end up in those kind of tropical muddy right-handers of El Salvador if you manage to get a bit of Zunzal. But it was a bit of a trek to go up to Thurso to qualify for this, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolute mission. I have been to Thurso before when I was a lot younger. I'd done a little trip there with Team Quicksilver back in the day. I think I was like 15, maybe younger, 14. But this time, with Vaughan at the wheel most of the way, fair play to him. He'd done an amazing job. It was an absolute mission. It was lovely, and I loved every minute of it. But it was a hell drive. It was a big trip.
And both Vaughan and Emily know the way up there, kind of almost off by heart. I'm wondering which one of you's been up there the most times. I know, Vaughan, you got a couple of years on Ems, but you seem to have been up there about 2 or 3 times a year since you got into competing Ems. You like Thurso as a wave, don't you?
Yeah, I love Thurso. I've been up a few times for the Pro Tour comp, and we spend a bit of time up there. It was normally half term,
right.
So we'd spend a bit of time up there before the comp, but Vaughan has probably been up a few more times than me.
How did it come about then, Vaughan, that the British ended up in Scotland? Was that something that had always been on the schedule and had to happen?
Yeah, 100%. Basically, the home nations, were consulted when the British surfing was created, and that a schedule was outlined in terms of which countries would host in what year, and it started with England in Newquay, and that was the first new format British Nationals and British Cup, which basically changed the format completely from what was usually anyone could enter, or whoever got their first 36 entries in, or whatever the field was, to essentially you have to qualify through your home nation's results, be it open, women, men, junior level as well.
Right.
And then from that, England, that one in Newquay was the first one, and then of course you represented your country as well as yourself, so that there's a chance to win the British Cup for Wales, England, Channel Islands, or Scotland. But the schedule was England first, followed by Channel Islands, and then Scotland. And it was no coincidence that Scotland was put there in terms of, with the ways. And it was no coincidence because it's an Olympic qualifying year.
Yeah.
So, but it's Wales' turn next year. And then it'll restart the schedule with England.
Right, okay. And when you went up there, it was pretty difficult, Thurso, and I think, Vaughan, you ended up sort of bringing home the award for effort, at least, wouldn't you? You'd have had the plate or something, at the awards dinner for breaking your
being
board
an idiot,
and got knocked out of, having to swim in and then swim, and then get back out again, and then you still only needed like a couple of points, wasn't it? And
I think it's fair to say an eventful 2 days in Thurso. I mean, Harry touched upon the journey, which is interesting because I've never had such an easy journey up to Thurso. So he doesn't remember what it was like as a kid, because I think we were up there in 11 hours. We left early hours of Friday. Yeah, we left early hours of Friday morning. I think I picked Harry up at 5 o'clock locally, and we were in the sea in Thurso by 5, 6 o'clock.
Oh, that's good.
But that evening we had 2 hours free surf session that we were allowed.
And there were rules on when you could free surf, weren't there?
Yeah, and the mission was the COVID thing, before and during, and it was really strict because there were different rules in Scotland. We had to get permission from Nicola Sturgeon in order to travel through and stay and reside and compete. And I think for me, the whole journey was, even attending was a difficult decision, probably one of the most difficult decisions I've ever had to make in terms of where should I go?
Agonizing a bit, weren't you?
Yeah, I still, in some respects, regret going up because I feel I should have perhaps handed my place to the next surfer in line, and he knows who he is. And I feel incredibly guilty still about taking my place, but I earned my place on my result from the Welsh Nationals in which it was taken. And I consulted about 50 people to try and get their viewpoint, and I took my place and had an eventful competition, which resulted in going left at a right, snapping my boards, swimming for about 10 minutes, paddling for about another 10 minutes, and not being able to get a 2.5 to get through.
It was actually the most exciting part of the event, apart from watching Harry hold on at the end, when you needed that 2.5, and you did catch a pretty decent looking wave with a bit of wall at the end. And I think you were saying afterwards, I spoke to you, and you said you didn't know that you only needed 2.5, wasn't it? Because you went to give it a bit more of a whack than it needed.
Yeah, it was a very difficult position. I mean, we had all sorts of conditions thrown at us, from quite glassy, sunny, 4 foot 5-foot Thurso to, some 6 foot was onshore, howling, snowing, couldn't hear you couldn't really hear the scores throughout because it was either low tide and glassy or howling onshore and high. So it was really difficult to know what your heat positions were. And I think, that just meant that, people had to go and surf and just have faith in their ability and what they were doing. And I think for someone like Harry, it's not a surprise to me that he did so well at all. And maybe there are people around the country who are like, oh, Harry, how did he manage that? Well, Harry's got a huge pedigree, has been an incredible junior career, open career, and it's no coincidence that someone with all the coaching and surfing background competing like Harry has done well at a really good wave.
Yeah, and I think a bit of it is about sort of building momentum as well. Emily, you had hardly surfed through the winter, hadn't you? Because you resided in an area where the lockdowns had made it difficult. And then I think actually you did very well going up there and getting straight out into, how many times had you surfed before going out into like double overhead onshore Thurso for that first heat?
I think in the year before, I think I can count on one, maybe two hands how much I'd surfed in the last year. So yeah, but when I was asked, I was like, I can't miss the opportunity and I've just got to go. I know I won't perform to my best, but I wasn't surfing too bad, but I just had no fitness whatsoever. And
that's a challenging thing.
Yeah, 100%. Like if it was a bit smaller, I maybe would have done a tiny bit better, but I'm really chuffed with how I did and how much I'd surfed before. So yeah.
And to add to that, Tom, on Emily's behalf, I mean, because my role was dual in terms of surfing and coaching, it's that there was a considerable sweep running. I mean, there was, Em took a couple of hell poundings paddling out. It wasn't easy Thurso. It was challenging Thurso.
Yeah. And how important is building momentum? Because I know you've competed in important events and gone right through and picked off finals and stuff like that. I'm trying to sort of save Harry from having to blow his own trumpet too much here, but getting through those early rounds with just the score that's needed, which is what you were doing initially, or you were getting through and you were building, and your scores were getting higher and higher each round. And I know you fell one short in the end. Do you think sometimes in an event like that, it is important to sort of hold something back and sort of not put it all into those first rounds?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really important. Like you surf smart. You don't waste your energy when you don't need to. You do enough to get through and save that little bit more energy for that next round. So yeah, I think that's building momentum, surfing smart. It's definitely the way forward.
And I think that is what you did, Harry. You started off with threes in that first round, and then by the time it came to the important heats, you were posting big scores, and then you held off. I mean, I know Stanley Norman and Luke Dillon were standouts throughout the event, but Barnaby Cox, I think, had done the turn of the event in the first round, that big closeout sort of tail slide Rio, and he couldn't get near you in that final, Harry.
Yeah, do you know what?
Third place at the Worlds.
I'd like to say that I was holding off for the final, but to be honest with you, I was giving it all from heat one when I got knocked out. But yeah, it kind of took me, when we first arrived after that journey, like we paddle out and it was, big onshore waves. I was like on a brand new board, which actually turned out, really well and went really good. But, my first surf on this new board, I borrowed a wetsuit of someone because apparently the water out there was going to be freezing, which turned out wasn't that bad. So I was in a different wetsuit I hadn't surfed, a new board, paddle out. It was big onshore. I got an absolute hiding on a wave on my head, and I was like, "Oh my god, what am I doing up here?" Like, so from the get go, I was a little bit like, thrown off, and then slowly, I settled into it. I caught a few waves. My first couple of heats I didn't do great, scoring crap scores. And then, as it went on, the waves got a little bit easier, to be fair. I settled in, my board started feeling good, and I managed to find rhythm. And then, but even watching it, watching some of the heats back now, the final, I feel like I should have gone, more, I didn't give it enough for sure. I definitely had more in the tank. Didn't let loose. I didn't even fall off in the final. I should have hit it so hard. To beat guys like Stan Norman and Luke, you've got to be surfing 100%. And I'm a bit gutted looking back. Well, I'm not gutted. I'm really happy with my result, but I just wish I'd kind of let loose a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I suppose you may, though, have blown that sort of second score that you needed that did put sort of Barnaby, enough to be sort of out of reach. Those last few minutes, they did actually feel relatively comfortable, did they? Or was that not what the experience was like for you?
Do you know what? For me, I didn't even know I had to get third to make the British team. I was just buzzing to be in the final. I was in the final of the British. I didn't think I was going to be there. So I was like, yes. I was just really enjoying it. I was shooting the boys into waves, just loving it, just like having a good time. And then, yeah, it happened. I got third, which was, real cool result. And then I think Luke come up to me and was like, I'll see you in El Salvador. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, yeah, you'll be going there now. And I thought, they're not, the British team aren't going to pick it just on this result, surely, But yeah, it turns out that was what you needed to do to go. And I got invited and I was well happy.
I wanted to ask actually, about the teams for El Salvador, because there was a little bit of time where we were sort of thinking, are they going to go with that 1, 2, 3? And of course, we know that there are surfers like Jay Quinn in New Zealand, double European champion, and there is a little bit of room. We had Jenny Jones on the show earlier this year, the Olympic snowboarder, and she was saying that in the end, the results were kind of advisory, and that the British snowboards, British skiing, whatever the association was, have got the right in the end to make their decision. And I was going to ask actually about, in the case of the ladies, why wasn't Peony Knight at the contest? Do you know anything about that, Ems?
I know she's gone to uni this year, so I'm not sure if she's kind of just taken a step back to concentrate on that. She started in September, so I'm not sure of the full story of why she wasn't there.
Yeah.
But it might have been something to do with that.
But she's not now going to El Salvador then?
No, sorry to cut across, but I know that she was unable to attend due to commitments outside of surfing, and I believe some of the COVID restrictions and potential risk to what she was doing in terms of either through studies or through a family were an issue. So she will not go.
But she will obviously be a real contender for a UK Olympian in the future, I would imagine. Because would you say, that she's sort of Britain's best, brightest female hope at the moment?
Yeah, and I think when you look at the last World Games result, she was the highest ranked British girl. So yeah, definitely probably one of the strongest. And it would be nice to see what she would have done up there as well.
And when you compete against Peony, Emily, does she drive you to
Yeah, I think all of us are quite competitive, especially when we were younger. We were all, one would win one thing, someone else would win the next. And I think having that, all of us, we pushed each other. All of us, there was a group of us. And, you're happy for them to win one, but the next one you want to win. And it's nice to have that with the girls. We were all, especially when we were a bit younger, a bit closer together, and being able to compete like that was pretty good for all of us to push us on. And for me, having 2 years out of competing, didn't really expect too much. But from now, I know I want to get back into it. I wanted to last year before COVID. So for me now, it's being able to get back into it and just building up. And so, yeah, it does fire me on to just keep going and show what I can actually do.
Great. So you're watching Harry now and you're thinking, that's where I want to be in 3 years' time.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'd love to see that as well.
I think as well, I got to interrupt there, but from what I've seen of, I've seen Em surfing loads before, obviously, but up in Scotland, she could have easily won that event as well, how it is in competitions, that some things don't go away. And even Vaughan, I reckon he could have bloody won the event as well if he hadn't gone left at Thurso. But he was telling everyone not to do the whole event. So yeah, I do think that, any of the Welsh guys could have, they could have won. I do think the potential was there. And it was good to see. I got to say as well, Pat and Logan, fair play. I've seen them boys surf loads of clips on Instagram and Facebook and all that. And I can see that they've been working really hard on it, but they did impress me. I thought Pat on his backhand at Thurso when it was big, he's a little guy and he was going for it, fair play to him, throwing down some big turns. And then Logan as well has got a real solid, I seen him have one forehand whack, which was up there, up there with the best. So it's good to see them two really pushing it. You know.
We've got some words coming up from those two, actually, from Pat and Logan, which we're going to go to a package in a second, and they talk a little bit about getting used to that kind of finding that lip line, you know, and Pat was talking about being on a board that he didn't know and sort of, you know, getting used to surfing that kind of bigger wave face. But before we do that, they're joining a little list of surfers from around the country who are sending a few messages to you, Harry. So have a listen to this.
Hey Harry, it's Logan here. As pissed off as I was that you beat me up in Scotland, I'm even more annoyed at how nice of a guy you are that I can't be mad that you beat me. So, well done. Stoked for you. Go to the Worlds and do well. Yeah, well done, mate.
Hey Harry, Pat here. Congrats on your result in Scotland. Stoked you did well, and more stoked there's a proper Welsh bloke going to the Worlds to represent. Good luck.
Harry, James Jones here, mate. Good luck in El Salvador with the British team. Smash it, son. Do it for Wales. We'll all be following you and we're all behind you. Good luck, pal.
Hey, Harry, it's Liam here. Hope you're well. Just a quick message to wish you all the best at the Worlds. I'm sure you're going to kill it. Can't offer you a lot of advice or strategy, but what I will say is clean your wax. Every heat, clean your wax. Clean wax, clean mind. Heat winner. You know what to do, Harry. Go and get it, and then we'll celebrate at the Night Owl when you get back. Even though it's closed, we'll open it just for that one big night. All the best, Harry.
To Harry, show them what you got, son. Lots of love behind you all the way. Greg, ta-ra, mate.
Hello, Harry. Just wanted to send you the best of luck for the contest. We'll be rooting for you all the way. Sending good vibes and luck from the full team, Harris and Goffey. Go get him, H.
Harry, this is Elliot Dudley. Best of luck at the Worlds, mate. We're all real proud of you here in Wales. I'm sure you're going to smash it up and bring home the goods. Hopefully catch up soon.
Harry, go fly the British flag loud and proud at the World Championships in El Salvador, buddy. You really do deserve your place in that team. Good luck, boss, and all the best. Rhino.
Go on, Hazza boy. Do it for Wales. So stoked, boy. Bring that Welsh dragon out, buddy.
Hey, Hazza, you legend. It's Spence here, just giving you a big shout out. Remember when we were driving to Scotland and you and Butler in the back of the car as grommets? And now look at you representing Britain and, of course, Wales. So rip in, mate. Good luck. I'll be hooting for you. All the best. Cheers.
Harry, remember when you looked like a young prince, Harry? Now you look like an old one. Hey, better surfer than him, though. And you're not married to Megan. Good one. Happy birthday, the Gill.
Hi Harry, it's Breach here. Just wanted to send you all of our best of luck for the Worlds and hope you enjoy those waves in El Salvador and you'll definitely do us proud. And good luck to Mel holding the fort when you're away. Definitely part of the team there.
Hi Harry, Rob here, wishing you all the best for this, your second appearance at the World Surfing Games. Last time was, of course, for Wales, and we had a grand old time. This time, you're representing the UK. Go interplanetary, mate. Good luck.
Good morning, Harry. It's PJ here, one of the old competitive surfers. I was really mean in those days, and I know you've got a great chance of winning. So when you take off, you got to think this. All right, Harry? You are the best. You are the best. Good luck. Take it easy. Bye.
Harry, genuinely, mate, I wish you all the very best in El Salvador. I cannot wait to watch your heat. I know you're going to do Wales proud. Whatever happens, we're all going to love watching you.
And I tell you what,
Good
we
luck.
are all going to end up watching you, Harry, because it's going to be tea time onwards here, because it's that part west coast of Central America is exactly the right amount of time behind for it to all be on the TVs in our houses every evening.
Brilliant.
I love the optimism every evening.
Absolutely. And speaking of optimism, we've had a good chat with Logan and Pat about that contest and about their ambitions moving forward. So we'll have a little listen to that now. So the first that I'm going to say, a bit controversial, picking the team off the Welsh from the year before.
From 2019?
From 2019. Was that the only option they had?
That wasn't the only option, but
yeah,
I guess.
Nothing controversial about that. I got in the team.
Yeah.
I'm not-
I mean, if you weren't in the team, it would be extremely controversial. But
What did you get in the 2019 Welsh then?
Third.
And you were second?
Yeah.
So Jake Quinn. Okay.
And Jay got an email and a call, I think.
And didn't go?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're in the team then, and obviously it's a no-brainer to go.
yeah, I almost didn't go.
Yeah, it wasn't no brain.
Because there was a lot of COVID restriction confusion.
What, you mean you didn't know what to expect?
Well, we were told we weren't allowed to free surf, and we were like, you were isolated apart from your heat, so it was like, oh, it's a long way to go for like just a heat or whatever, but then you put it into perspective and it was kind of probably worth going.
Were you guys genuinely thinking before like driving up there about a path right through to wearing a jersey in Tokyo in the Olympics? Were you thinking like, right, you know, up this road now, couple of heats, get through this, couple of heats in the Worlds? Were you seeing it as that route, or was it more kind of heat by heat, wave by wave?
I kind of just wanted to be British champion, to be honest.
Yeah?
That was kind of my goal.
Okay.
Mine was more, not so much this Olympics, but if you do good and show that you're good at this one, it seemed like there's a lot of opportunity for like training camps and things like that in the future. So I thought if you can shoe yourself in now, there's going to be, they say the dream, didn't they? But there's going to be a lot of opportunity to get coaching, trips away to then gear yourself up for, the 2024 and wherever it's going to happen.
And that big bag of funding.
Yeah, that was that was my thought. Not so much this.
I didn't really think about it like that, but
that's really interesting to see how what one of you thinks of it like that the other way. Is that because are you thinking then, Logan, that winning the British? Yeah, that like it's the smart approach.
About money.
I might not win the British.
I think about
but
winning.
I can build a career. And you just really want to win the British.
Yeah.
Of course, like short-sighted, I wanted to be British champ, but that's not that wasn't my only golf going. I knew there was more on the line than just like, I'm British champ.
Does British champ mean anything though? Because like you've won the Welsh. Isn't going on to a QS better?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. In the scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal.
And you won the UK Pro Tour event?
Yeah. But still, you always want to win, don't you?
Okay, fair enough. So you get it.
I mean, if you're driving 12 hours, you're not going up there because you want to get third, you know? Or sixth.
Although third would do.
Or sixth or whatever.
Sixth. Is that was it? You finished sixth.
Well, is it sixth or seventh?
It's complicated, isn't it? Because you don't know whether they judge the repechage final as finaling higher than.
That's what they stuck as us. They said sixth, fifth.
Okay.
Fourth.
Got it.
I didn't win,
but. Not meaning to make you feel pangs of regret, you kind of looked like you were going to in the early rounds. Did you peak too early? Did it feel like that a little bit?
Thanks. No, well, maybe. I think I had moments. I was way too hot and cold.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was the first couple of rounds. I think I don't like making excuses, but I was on a borrowed board, and I think I know that.
Why was that? So that you'd have something a bit bigger?
Yeah, just because it was pretty big and woolly, and it doesn't look that big, does it, on the footage? But it was pretty. Getting around was.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe because I'm small.
I know what Thurso feels like when it's that size and a little bit onshore. It's really kind of gnarly, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'd like to think one of my strengths is my backhand, but when it's not so much that big, but maybe that big and bumpy, I probably need to work on.
It's a hard arc to get right into the lift.
Making myself
isn't it?
look more solid on the wave and them types of waves.
Okay.
But then when it got a bit smaller on the right, I felt really confident.
Okay.
I just didn't give myself many chances in that last heat.
And you kind of went the other way, Logan. You started off a little bit slower and then started going onto a hot streak from there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I knew, maybe no one else believes that I have the ability, but I know I have the ability to have won it if I had surfed properly, and I knew what I needed to do. I just just found it hard to do it. I think literally I knew I just needed 2 good waves with a good first turn. That was what they were scoring, but I just found it harder to do it, and a few things didn't go your way, but that's the competition, isn't it?
Yeah. Difficult getting used to the cold because it was a lot colder in here, isn't it?
I'm trying to think what that was like.
Wasn't too.
No, it wasn't. It was all right. Yeah, it wasn't.
I feel
terrible.
like when you're in a comp, you don't. you just don't think about it, do you?
Go. Everyone heat.
Well, you expect, like, in 20 minutes you got to put your wetsuit back on. It's not like
your adrenaline.
You know, like when you're free surfing, you're like, oh, I've got to, like, I'm making myself go back in
for
now.
nothing almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're doing it to train, but you're doing it to have fun as well. Whereas you're not gonna go.
This is what you've trained for.
Yeah.
You were just talking about Thurso being a bit bumpy. You guys had a trip up there in the autumn the year before, and you scored pretty good.
Yeah.
Like hollow Thurso.
Yeah.
Did you feel like that had given you an idea of sort of where to go on the lip when it was bumpy, or was it a little bit like you had to kind of learn a new approach to the wave again?
I feel like it changes when it gets offshore. Yeah. Like and maybe it was the swell direction was super north.
Yeah.
But the wave felt really short.
Yeah. When we were just up there.
Yeah. Like, I don't think I had many waves where I hit the lip twice. I hit the lip and then
cutbacks.
Yeah, do fat backs.
Fat backs. So, how did you both feel then, going up there, and when you look on that scoreboard of highest heat totals and highest waves, you've both got your names in like the top half of that scoreboard, and Pat, your name in particular is on it repeatedly in that top end of the scoreboard. How did it feel to come up short, as both of you seem to be counting it in this event?
I just remember my dad when I was younger used to say a miss by an inch is as good as a mile. Like, it doesn't matter how well you've done in like your previous heats. You haven't won the event, so it doesn't matter what you did. You know, like the whole point of a contest is that you're consistent over like a lot of heats. So you can have one, like Pat said, you can have one excellent heat, but if you go cold the next heat, it's no good, is it? You might as well have just had 2 6s all the way through, than 2 8s and then 2 2s. So that's my opinion on it.
And there was a little bit of controversy about the score that was thrown down to your friend and friend of the show, Luke Dillon, in your heat.
Oh, was that? Which one?
That the score Luke Dillon needed to get past you in the heat that you got knocked out of.
I know there was lots of controversy, which actually I think we weren't that aware of, but like there was rumblings of, the scoring was weird.
Yeah. I feel like the scoring was just quite high.
Yeah.
Right.
They were usually rewarding the right things.
Yeah.
Just a number was high.
A 4 was a 6.
Yeah.
And a 5-5 was a 7.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess it was hard to surf, but there were certain heats where you'd watch and you'd go, that was high.
And how did you feel coming up sort of short of that? Well, finally, and I suppose of the first target, then trying to get top 3, and then obviously you're saying you wanted to go and be British champion.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed. Just because it'd been such a long time not in a contest. Like the first contest back, you kind of
course, yeah.
You haven't been focusing on that event because you didn't know which one was coming first, but you'd just been focusing on competing again eventually, and then to not do very well was just a bit of a bummer.
And now then, right round the corner, WQS Santa Cruz, and then down to Costa de Caparica.
Yeah.
I mean, who needs Margaret River and Rottnest?
I know.
How are you feeling about that then? Are you pumped to compete?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
That's the level I want to be at, so.
Okay.
Stoked to leave Wales. But yeah, also obviously, like put a jersey on and try and like redeem yourself for like a performance that you're not that happy with.
And this is going to be 2 contests back to back, isn't it?
Yeah, and on the stage where the judging ain't controversial, as no one's run into the judges' towers really in those comps. So, yeah, maybe sometimes.
You got enough boards now for all possibilities.
Yeah.
Low tide dump and shore break at Santa Cruz might need a couple of inches.
Yeah.
It looks solid as well.
I got a new board that was stock actually from Sam Defoe, which is about 2 litres bigger.
And as for the British, then, is that still an important goal, British champ?
Yeah, but it's not one of my main goals.
So the QS is the main goal.
Yeah, just to prove myself.
You say prove yourself. Have you done like a kind of have you given yourself a numerical target of sort of like where you want to get to? Have you got like a X amount of points, or is it to get out of the European stage onto the second half of the QS season?
Yeah, I would like to do it this year, but I think that would be pretty hard. But yeah, that is my goal, to eventually get onto the Challengers.
The Challenger Series?
Yeah.
Okay. Challenger Series, Logan? Where it might only be room for one of the two of you. What happens if
on there?
What happens if it comes down to Logan versus Pat for a place on the Challenger Series, the last event of the summer?
Harry Cromwell will enter probably.
Of course he will. Of course he will. Yeah, so just to put a bit of that into context, what Pat and Logan are talking about there, because I know things are changing so rapidly. This year, the WQS has been divided into two halves of a season, and in the first half of the season is a regional WQS for wherever you are. And part of the reason for this is to stop it from just being a case of like every single person who can get to Australia makes the tour, because there's more events there. So we're going to have regional events: Europe, Latin America, North America, Australasia, and then at a midpoint in the season, towards the end of the summer, regional qualifiers from each area will make it to the Challenger Series, which will be the second half of the year. And then that'll be a series of WQS events that are around the globe. And the WCT will then be taken from the Challenger Series. So how about that, Harry? They reckon that if they were one heat away from the Challenger Series, knowing their luck, they'd probably suddenly see you crop up.
Well, I don't think they got much to worry about, because I won't have much time to leave the family in the fishing boat. But yeah, I'd be up for that. Send me out there.
Now, let's bring a bit of a reality check into this. And both of them, at the time of recording, they'll be making their way to Costa de Caparica. But in Santa Cruz, I can confirm that they've both finished fourth in their first heats in Santa Cruz. Pat, in particular, came across Marlon Lipka and Leon Glatzer in the same heat. That's a hell of a start to a first round of a contest, isn't it? But admire them for, getting out there and going for it, really. I think, you've got to make sure you've found your limit, and they're sort of pushing that limit. And, let's hope they get a result in Costa de Caparica.
Well, if you want to comment on that, that is the level you're going to be surfing against on the QS. And in terms, if you want to make a Challenger Series or any other, qualification routes, they're the kind of guys you're going to be surfing against. And that's, there's a lot of those sorts of surfers. So I watched Pat's and Logan's heats. And it was not dissimilar conditions to Thurso.
Yeah.
Windy, big, and looks like plenty of rip. So I think that the guys would have come across with some lessons from that. But hopefully they can do it at the next event. And I wish them good luck.
You were saying you found it interesting, Vaughany, that they were sort of talking about the QS as being, having goals on the QS that kind of went beyond this idea of British champion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found that really interesting, because for me, when I was growing up learning to compete and surf, I always felt that until I achieved at a national level, or, in terms of Wales, Britain, that I was never really ready to compete at that level.
Yeah.
Now, perhaps I'm wrong, perhaps I'm right, and you've got to expose yourself to the higher level to keep pushing your surfing. And perhaps I just simply wasn't good enough. But there is a certain thing as well with, if you become a British champion or a Welsh champion, whatever it is, or a European champion, that tag stays with you for the rest of your days, and that you're always referred to as, Harry Cromwell, British champion, as, or whoever you are. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of value in that, and I'm not sure the boys have maybe see that at this point. And given the new structure of what's going on in terms of qualification for our sport into the Olympics, and even this regional thing that's happening now with the QS and the Challenger Series and all that, there's a lot more placement on nationality rather than sticking a load of people together and getting them to compete for the, as you can, because it's all about, inclusion of all nations and the top people from that nation competing against each other. And that's going to be whittling down the numbers. And we're already seeing that here in terms of you qualify for the Welsh, you qualify the British, and then you go off to the Worlds.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see how things develop in the future. So, and how you qualify for these various events.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask the surfer here who's got the most national titles, Emily, your thoughts about the QS, because you have competed on the QS. Where have your priorities lay between that sort of professional competition on the QS or picking up national titles. I can see actually, for the benefit of the listener, that Emily has got 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 7? I recognise the shape of that
6.
trophy actually.
Yeah, I've got 6 national titles, and the rest will be kind of second places.
They're glistening away behind her there.
Yeah. For me, I've always wanted to be a national champ. I want to be British champ. That's the next thing I want to do. I have my Welsh titles, and I'd love to have more. The next step for me, though, is my British title. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I've been second a few times, but I've never managed to get first, but that's what I want.
Yeah.
And I did a few pro juniors QSs when I was a bit younger, and it was eye-opening seeing all those. Like, that's the level you need to compete at. And I think it's a great learning experience. But like Vaughan said, I think having that British title, that stays with you forever. And yeah, you can go to QS and learn things and improve. But yeah, British title for me, definitely.
Interesting. And in terms of how Pat and Logan are doing there, they're going to have breakthroughs at some point, though, aren't they? Because I think, they're sort of, that is the standard they're looking to try to be at, isn't it? They're bringing an air game in, they're both trying to learn to tube ride.
For me, Tom, having watched their heats, and travelled with Welsh surfers to European events for decades, one of the things that's really apparent is it takes Welsh surfers some time to adapt to the conditions.
Absolutely.
From moving from UK waves to European waves tends to be a bit of a change.
Yeah.
And that within a week or so, and surfing with the different guys, they find the feet, and it's almost like at the end of the event, the Welsh surfers are starting to, they've improved those few notches, or they've caught up or got used to the conditions. And equally, because I find that when UK surfers generally mature a little bit later, and so they tend to be mid-20s when they're really starting to make their mark competitively. And I think the guys have got every chance of doing that, and they've only just flown into Portugal. They've had 2 days there, and God knows what restrictions are involved. They're going to the next event. Let's see what happens. They're doing everything they can do in terms of surfing, training, and competing.
Now, one of the guys who works doing a bit of the artwork on our show was talking about them the other day, and he had a really interesting point that the trips that these guys are doing, they're short trips, they're often to contest venues, and that sometimes there's a benefit for a Welsh surfer in disappearing for a month in Indonesia, or potentially going to Hawaii, going to Central America, going to surf Puerto Escondido, or indeed, those point breaks of El Salvador. Do you think that would actually be potentially an idea that, some of those surfers looking to get to that next step could take on board, and, that kind of travel to just get used to good waves in order to actually arrive at that level where, when you arrive in then those horrible dumping beach breaks of somewhere like Santa Cruz, you've got that sort of, the geometry and the mathematics and the sort of hand, what would you call it, board-eye coordination to find that lip line.
100% for me. I mean, I speak to Logan, as I mentioned before, I think on one of these shows, an unhealthy amount, and I've got a lot of time for him. I try and offer my advice, and my advice has always been to him, try and get some time away if you're serious about becoming a professional surfer, and to anyone. And you've only got to go. You don't have to go too far back. Speak to Russell. Speak to Russell. Speak to Carwin. Look at what they did. They didn't just go, they competed, but they also stayed away. Russell stayed in Barbados every year. Carwin went, he lived in a van and in a car in France and Australia for months on end to get used to surfing with good surfers in better ways. And you've got to put those hard yards in, I'm afraid, I believe, as a surfer, because of the disadvantage.
Well, Harry, you spent that time in Australia, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of traveling. I went to Australia 2 years running with Quicksilver, and it was just unbelievably beneficial for your surfing. Surfing against the best surfers in the world, and realizing that it is like you are just a tiny tadpole in a pool of sharks. There's so many good surfers out there, and surfing with them, you just improve so much quicker. Even myself, going to the British up in Scotland, surfing against you guys and the rest of the British surfers, I feel like just watching them and being in there with them, I'm improving. I come home a better surfer. Whereas like I'm surfing Manorbier every day with all the boys and loads of people, who I love surfing with. Like, no offense to a lot of them, they're not the best surfers, and it's probably not good for my surfing. The only way of getting better is surfing with better surfers than yourself, and surfing different waves. And you need the variety of lefts, rights, barrels, reef breaks, sand breaks. You need to get in it all, and big waves as well. You can't just surf like small waves all the time. You've got to get used to surfing solid waves, because you'll go places and you just be like, bloody hell, this is out of my comfort zone. You know what I mean? I've experienced that plenty of times. Or even small waves. You've got to get used to surfing small waves, because a lot of the WQSs will be in crap waves. You're used to surfing that too. So you just got to get in as much as you can with the best surfers in a variety of waves, whether it's 1 foot or whether it's 10 foot. You've got to get in there.
Yeah, of course. What's your thoughts on this, Ems? Is that what a surfer looking to sort of get out of the Welsh surfing way needs to do? Do they need to go and surf big low boss for a winter, or just get those big open faces?
Yeah, 100%. I know when I was younger, when I used to improve quickly, we'd be in France all summer, just surfing 2-3 times a day. And you just come on so much surfing with people that are better than you. 100%. That's the way to improve. Just travel, get experience, different waves, different places, surfing with people that are better, and then doing those QS events and like the pro juniors. I remember the first one I went to was just so eye-opening, seeing how much like even those kind of surfers, French and Portuguese, that you hadn't ever heard of, how much better they were than us. It was like, you are, like Harry said, you're a small fish in a big pond, really. So it's like, yeah, just definitely getting out there, practicing in those better waves with better surfers. That's the way to definitely improve.
I think, to be fair to the guys as well, is that anyone trying to obtain this lifestyle, I mean, there's not the money that was in the sport going back a few years, and that it's a fine balance financially as well. It's all very well, I think, us being here and saying, yeah, you should go travel, you should do this, you should do that. But not everyone can afford to do that. Not everyone can be in that position. And equally, if it goes horribly wrong, which it will for almost everyone, bar the very best, is that you've then got to rebuild your life and start at 30-something or whenever you give up on the dream. So it's a fine balance of getting that right. And it's almost something you've got to do from a very young age and have the support of family, friends, and sponsors in order to achieve that dream. Unless you're a late bloomer and you've really got to stick some hard yards and some tough overnight stays in, and backs of vans and wherever.
And then, of course, we've also got Alice Barton, albeit competing in the English nationals and surfing for England up at that contest. But Alice hails from Wales. She's a Welsh girl. What do you think are her chances of pushing on to that stage, Ems?
Yeah, I think she's got a pretty good chance. She's determined. She's training hard. She's surfing all the time. She's still quite young. I think she's still got time to push and getting that experience now. She goes away loads. She's surfed at a high level. Yeah, I think she's got a good chance.
Now, on that note then of talking about going on to that world stage, let's have a little chat about the trip you're about to take, Harry. El Salvador, Zunzal. I got to say, I reckon that apart from getting a tube, which happens very rarely for somebody as gangly and tall as me, I reckon the best wave I have ever put together in my entire life was in Zunzal. It's a big bowling, bending in right-hander with a nice kind of rolling takeoff, and then it just kind of tapers all the way into this little shore break. It's a gorgeous wave. I can see Vaughan, he's got a tear in his eye. It can even make me feel like a top surfer, but it's also, going to make whoever else you're competing against surf their best as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I've been watching it on there's like a live webcast of it on Magic Seaweed, and it just looks like a wally kind of, not fast, wally slow right-hander, which is like made for me, I reckon. Just doing big carves and like just long waves. I can get my turns in, and is like the period there. I've been watching it. It hasn't dropped below 10 seconds for the last like 3 weeks. It just looks consistent. It looks like there's waves every day. It's warm. I don't know how my shiny bald head's going to go in the tropical heat there, but I'm sure I'll manage. But yeah, it just looks fun. Looks like such a fun, good wave. I don't know if any of you other guys have been there, but Tom, yeah, you said it's amazing, is it?
Yeah, it is. And the other thing I was going to ask about here, I don't know if you know any more about this yet, but I'm reading off the ISA's information for people going on the trip here, that Zunzal, which is that right-hand point that we were just talking about, La Bocana, which I believe is the sort of beach break a little bit north of there, and El Zonte, which is another point break a little bit further south, not quite as organised, I suppose, more kind of like what, no offence now, but like Manorbier is to say, Llantwit's, Cobble Point, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's no mention on here as of La Libertad as one of the official events where teams are going to be allowed to train. And now La Libertad is one of the best waves in the world. And if that breaks, do you know if you're going to be able to go and get a free surf there? It's about 10, 15 minutes north up the road from Zunzal.
Is that Punta Roca place, or is that
Punta Roca? Yeah,
Punta Roca, yeah. Do you know what?
That is one of the best waves in the world, an absolute, incredible sight to behold, let alone to ride a wave there.
I've actually spoken to someone who went there, and he said it was like a warm J Bay. So yeah. So
apart from when it's under 4 foot, then it's got a dry rock in the middle of it, which you guys in Pembroke are used to with Middle Bay, anyway.
Yeah, I can buddy up over that.
Yeah,
but
Mama Roca, it's known as.
Oh, I got cramped in my leg. Oh, oh my other one's going. I gotta stop.
What an athlete.
Oh my God.
Oh my
I tell you what, that sitting down's harder than it looks. Brilliant. Can't coach it. Well, Harry's getting over his cramp. A warm J-Bay sounds very appealing to me.
But some of the people who are going to be there, I was having another look as well at the, because obviously the Olympics is in your mind, cramp or not. And I'm assuming that a couple of the Germans are going to be going. So I think once they're done licking Pat and Logan around southern Portugal, Marlon and Leon Glatzer will be out there. Leon Glatzer's been out there for a lot of the winter. He's been living in Pavones. I know Peru are taking Miguel Tadela, and there are some very, very, very good surfers going to that event. Is that something you're kind of looking forward to rise into then, Harry? What's going to be your approach for coming across those kinds of names?
Definitely. I think the better surfers I'm against, the better I'm going to surf, without a doubt. I'm just going to have fun, just treat it like I'm getting to go away to surf amazing waves with really good surfers, and I know the better the competition, the better it'll make me surf. I know, I've never won a Welsh. I just feel like the pressure's always on there because everyone's always expecting. They're always like, "Oh, local boy Harry will do well here," and everyone's like, "Oh, come on, this is your year," and all this. Whereas, like, I feel like a competition where it's sort of out of my reach of winning almost. I think that'll push me, to actually do better than expected, rather than under sort of gunning it. I'll sort of overgun and hopefully do better than a lot of people.
So the Olympic thing, that is in the back of your mind, though, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. The Olympic thing is a massive thing that's been in the back of my mind. Thinking about going to that would just be like another level. And even though it is far-fetched, it's definitely achievable. And I feel like you've got to believe to achieve. And I'm going there with the ambition to make it and to get to the Olympics.
And have you thought about the mathematics and machinations of what's needed?
Not really, no.
So we've got here, if I just go down the rule being that once 2 surfers from a country have qualified, the country's surfers are all ineligible, right? So Australia, Brazil, France, Japan, and the USA It doesn't matter how many people from there finish ahead of you, because they can't go to the Olympics. This is for the men's, obviously. And then on top of that, we've got a surfer qualified from Morocco. We've got one from New Zealand, one from Peru, one from Portugal, and one from South Africa. So again, those countries can only send one. There's 5 slots left to be given to the Olympics from this event. And obviously that then it excludes those countries that have already filled those slots. So there's still some work to do, isn't there? But, it's pretty much the same gig as Thurso, really, isn't it? Show up and just keep going through heats. And then all of a sudden someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and say,
see you in the Olympics. Yeah, like, I'm being realistic. I can't see myself going to the Olympics, but I'm definitely not going there like mucking about. I'm going there with a serious head on. I'm looking to just absolutely smash it. I'm holding nothing back. I'm going to go big. And whoever's in my heat, good luck to them, but I'm having them. Hopefully Slater.
Yeah. And it's not impossible that Slater gets a slot now, isn't it? Because we've got both Chloe Andino and John Florence are injured at the moment. Now, I just want to talk about the women's Olympics as well here. If we look, there's 13 surfers already qualified from the women, so 7 slots from El Salvador will go. And perhaps the sort of big story, we haven't got Welsh representation in the women's, but the big story could be that Sofia Milanovic is going to be competing again. And of course, she's the reigning ISA world champion, having beaten all of the top WSL surfers when it was held in Miyazaki. But that would be quite a story. Even we might not have Slater at the Olympics, but if Sofia Milanovic were to make it, that would be pretty impressive, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It'd be pretty cool to see her go.
Does she not qualify already through having won in Japan previously?
No, because so the Pan American Games gets 1 slot. So someone from Peru,
Daniela Rochas,
already qualified. So then they said that she couldn't qualify, which I think is absolutely bonkers. You don't get your world champ going. But...
Well, that is mental. That is.
She actually had to raise a petition to the Peruvian Surfing Association to get a slot in the Peru's team for this event. So world amateur champion and a former world professional champion, exactly as Em says. Daniela Rochas from Peru had won the Pan American Games, and so Sophia wasn't actually going until she sort of raised a bit of a political storm over it.
I did see something about that, and I wondered how it was all connected, because I was like, surely she's qualified, because obviously it goes to show what I know, but wow, that's some story, isn't it? World champ not going.
And if it happens, if he isn't already draped in a drag gore and celebrating and getting his own Japanese visa ready, you'll be seeing it all happen firsthand, Harry, at least, even if you are on the sidelines by the time we get to those finals, which is not what we're expecting, obviously. Surfing history is going to be being made in front of you.
I know. It is so surreal that I'm going to be there watching that go down, and being part of it is just an honour. And I'm just so like proud to be Wales's representative, to going over there and surf for Great Britain. It's just so exciting. It really is.
And quite how big a role Harry plays in that piece of surfing history, we will, of course, be keeping you informed of, dear listeners, in the episode that follows this. By the time this episode drops with you, Harry will be on the plane, so he's possibly going to be getting to El Salvador, and the first thing, of course, he's going to be doing once he gets to his hotel room is getting the Wi-Fi set up so that he can go on Apple Podcasts and have a little listen to us through that lovely, reliable iPhone through which he's been talking to us tonight. Now, we're all going to wish, I'm sure Vaughan and Emily would like to take the opportunity to join those other voices from earlier in wishing you good luck on the upcoming trip, Harry. Crest wishes you the absolute best of luck. We are so proud of you. Well done.
I appreciate it so much. I've had so many well wishes and so many people saying how proud they are of me. It means so much. Honestly, it's amazing. And I want to say a big thank you to Vaughanie for looking after me when I was in Scotland, because without him there, I probably wouldn't have got in the sea, because he literally not only drove me up there, but he lent me, he'd give me a leash and and he picked up my new board for me and everything I needed. I'd lost my watch. He lent me a watch. I didn't have wax. He gave me wax, and he literally was dad of the trip. And he got me to El Salvador. So thank you, Vaughan.
Harry, you're most welcome. I think you're forgetting the conversation we had before you'd even known about the British and your qualification, because I had a conversation with you. It was like, I don't know, should I go? Shouldn't I go? And I was like, mate, don't turn this opportunity down. There won't be too many times in your life you'll be able to say, I could qualify for the Olympics. Well, you've just gone one further. So one step further than we thought when we had that conversation. So let's go all the way, son. I'll be rooting for you. Cannot wait to see you. Good luck.
Yeah, you're going to do awesome, Hazza. I'm so stoked for you to be able to go. Like, you're just the most nicest person ever. And you made Scotland such a good trip. And just every trip I've ever been on with you, you're like a frothing grom, and you just make it like such a good trip. Everyone's so relaxed. And I think you're going to do amazing. So good luck.
I tell you what, mind Em, you can go off someone when you're driving home for 12 hours and all you're having is good, well done phone calls. 12 hours of well done, Harry, and unlucky Vaughan. It wears after a while.
Cheers, Vaughan and Ems. It means a lot. And it's such a shame that you wouldn't be going as well, Ems, to El Salvador. Even you, Vaughan. It would have been nice to have another Welsh teammate there, but I'm looking forward to it either way.
We'll go on the next one together. Yeah, we're all going to go on the next one.
Going on the next one.
Yes, good plan.
The same conversation in for 3 years' time, and it's all going to be about Ems's trip and wherever.
Yeah, I think I'll be the luggage carrier by then. What was Didier Deschamps referred to as, Tom? The water boy, wasn't he? By Cantona.
Fabulous stuff. So a big thank you then to our guests on today's show, to Emily Williams, to Mark Vaughan, and of course to Wales's representative at the 2021 ISA World Games, Harry Cromwell. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Crest in partnership with Elusive. Diolch am gwrando, and we'll see you guys again in a fortnight. Hwyl fawr.
Bye.
Diolch yn fawr, Tom.
Hwyl fawr.
Shouldn't you say it in Spanish, Harry? Buenas noches.
Adios.